Most men hear these questions and answer them the wrong way. Not because they're weak, not because they don't care, but because they don't realize they're being tested. The questions sound normal, almost casual, but what she's really watching isn't what you say, it's how you say it. Your tone, your calm, your certainty. And in that moment, she decides whether you feel like a boy or an older man she can trust. Here's the truth most men never hear. When a woman wants an older man, she isn't chasing excitement. She's searching for emotional safety, stability, presence. She wants to know if you are grounded or reactive, if you lead your emotions or let emotions lead you. And she learns this not through big moments, but through small questions that seem harmless. This is why so many men feel confused. They think attraction disappears for no reason, but it doesn't. It fades the moment she feels emotional uncertainty. An older man represents calm, not silence, not distance, but control. And when she starts feeling drawn to that energy, her mind naturally looks for proof. She doesn't interrogate you. She doesn't demand answers. She simply asks questions that reveal how you carry yourself. This happens because attraction, for a woman, is not built on words. It's built on how safe she feels inside your presence. Safety doesn't mean boring. It means predictable strength. It means emotional steadiness. When a woman considers an older man, she wants to know one thing above all else. Can this man stay calm when the moment has weight? So she tests, not consciously, not with strategy, but with instinct. She asks questions that put light pressure on you. Nothing extreme, nothing obvious, just enough to see how you respond. And here's where most men fail. They rush to explain. They try to impress. They justify themselves. They overtalk. They think the goal is to sound interesting, or intelligent, or agreeable. But that's not what she's listening for. She's listening for emotional posture. Is he relaxed? Is he centered? Is he secure in himself? An older man doesn't answer to prove. He answers to express. This difference is subtle, but powerful. It's the difference between reacting and responding. When you react, your voice changes. Your pace speeds up. Your words stack on top of each other. When you respond, you stay slow. You stay grounded. You don't rush the silence. And silence is important here, because silence shows comfort with yourself. A man who fears silence fills it. A man who trusts himself lets it breathe. This is why these tests feel invisible. They don't look like tests. They feel like conversation. But inside her, something is happening. She's checking alignment. She's sensing whether your energy stays steady. This is not about being perfect. It's about being present. You don't need clever lines. You don't need dominance. You don't need control. You need emotional ownership. When you own your emotions, you don't chase approval. You don't defend your worth. You don't try to manage her reaction. You stay where you are. And that steadiness is what separates an older man from a man who only looks older. In the next part, you'll see the first question women use without realizing it, and why the wrong answer quietly breaks attraction, while the right energy deepens it without effort.
The first question usually sounds harmless. So harmless that most men don't even register it as important. She might ask it casually, in the middle of a relaxed conversation, sometimes even with a smile. But emotionally, this is where she starts measuring you. The question is some version of, so, what are you really looking for? Most men hear this and feel pressure immediately. They think this is about labels, commitment, the future, and that's why they answer the wrong way. They rush to lock things down, or they rush to sound detached. Both come from the same place, fear. One man overpromises. He starts talking about seriousness before it exists. Another man hides. He plays vague to avoid being judged. But she isn't asking to trap you. She's asking to feel your center. She's watching how comfortable you are with uncertainty, how relaxed you are with not controlling the outcome. An older man doesn't answer this question with anxiety. He doesn't perform certainty. He doesn't perform mystery either. He answers from where he actually is, not emotionally leaning forward, not emotionally pulling back. He stays neutral, grounded, present. Because what she's really testing is this: can this man be honest without needing something from me? Most men fail here because they think attraction grows from convincing. But attraction grows from emotional independence. When you explain yourself too much, you show that her reaction controls you. When you dodge the question, you show that you're afraid of being seen. Both signal instability. An older man understands that clarity doesn't need force. He speaks simply, without pressure. Not because he's careless, but because he's secure. And that security lands. Inside her, something relaxes, because she feels she's not being managed. This is where many men misunderstand female psychology. They think women want answers, but women want alignment. Alignment between words and energy. If your words say one thing, but your tone feels tense, she notices. If your words are casual, but your body feels calm, she feels safe. This question reveals emotional pacing. Do you rush the future? Do you resist it? Or do you let it unfold? Older men let things unfold, not because they don't care, but because they trust themselves. They don't need the moment to decide their value. This is why younger men often feel like they say the right things but still lose attraction. They say the right words, but from the wrong place. She senses the effort, and effort kills polarity. Now comes the second question. This one is even more subtle, and even more dangerous. It often comes after a story, or a disagreement, or a small emotional moment. She might say, "Why are you so calm about this?" Most men panic internally when they hear this. They think calm equals boring, or detached, or uninterested, so they try to correct it. They explain themselves. They add emotion. They justify their calm. And without realizing it, they fail the test. Because she wasn't criticizing your calm. She was checking if it was real. This question tests emotional regulation. Is your calm natural, or is it avoidance? An older man doesn't rush to defend his calm. He doesn't turn it into a speech. He stays where he is. Because calm doesn't need explanation. Calm says, "I'm comfortable with what's happening." That's incredibly attractive. Women are constantly reading emotional environments. They feel shifts before men hear words. When she asks this question, she's checking if your nervous system stays stable when attention is on you. Most men collapse under that attention. They start managing impressions. Older men don't. They understand something simple. You don't earn trust by reacting well. You earn trust by not overreacting at all. This doesn't mean indifference. It means proportion. You care without losing yourself. You listen without absorbing chaos. That's what she's craving. Not excitement. Not drama. A place to rest emotionally. These two questions reveal everything. Not because of what you say, but because of how little you need to say. And once a woman feels that steadiness, something shifts inside her. She stops testing. She starts leaning. Not consciously. Naturally. Because she senses something rare. A man who doesn't chase her emotions. A man who can hold space without tension. That's when attraction deepens quietly. Most men never realize what happens after these questions. They think the test is over once the conversation moves on, but it isn't. What really matters is what happens inside her after she asks them. If you answered from tension, she feels it linger. If you answered from calm, she carries that feeling with her. This is where attraction either settles or slowly fades. And here's the part men rarely hear. When a woman wants an older man, she is often tired. Not physically, emotionally. Tired of managing reactions. Tired of explaining feelings. Tired of walking on emotional edges. She doesn't want to be the emotional adult anymore. So when she meets a man who stays steady, who doesn't rush her emotions, who doesn't collapse under uncertainty, something inside her softens. This is the emotional shift most men miss. She stops feeling like she has to lead emotionally. And when that happens, she begins to trust. Trust doesn't come from intensity. It comes from consistency. This is why older men feel different. Not because of age, but because of emotional rhythm. They don't spike high. They don't crash low. They move evenly. That evenness creates space. And space allows desire to grow. You see, attraction isn't built by pressure. It's built by permission. Permission for her to relax. Permission for her to feel without being pulled. Most men try to earn attraction by doing more, saying more, explaining more. But attraction deepens when you remove pressure, not when you add effort. This is where many men feel frustrated. They've been told to be expressive, open, emotionally available, and that advice is incomplete. Because emotional availability without emotional control feels unsafe. A woman doesn't want access to your emotions if your emotions run you. She wants access to a man who can feel deeply without losing stability. That's what these questions are really about. They are not about your past. They are not about your plans. They are not about your personality. They are about your emotional leadership. Can you stay present without needing reassurance? Can you listen without needing validation? Can you be still when nothing needs to be fixed? This is why silence becomes powerful. Not awkward silence. Comfortable silence. Silence that says, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. Most men fear silence because silence removes performance. There's nothing to hide behind. No words to lean on. Only presence. And presence is either grounded or exposed. An older man understands that silence is not emptiness. It's confidence without noise. This is where women begin to feel drawn in. They don't feel entertained. They feel settled. That feeling is rare, especially for women who are used to emotional turbulence. So when she senses it, she pays attention. She may not say anything. She may not compliment you, but she notices. Her questions slow down. Her body language softens. Her energy leans instead of resists. This is the emotional buildup, not fireworks, not drama, but depth. And depth creates attachment without force. Now here's where the power truly flips. When you stop trying to be chosen, you become the one doing the choosing. Not aggressively, quietly. You stop adjusting yourself to fit her mood. You stop chasing clarity from her reactions. You stay where you are. That steadiness changes the dynamic. She feels that you're not trying to secure her. You're evaluating the connection too. That makes her respect you more. Not because you pull away, but because you don't lean in prematurely. This is the mistake men make. They think power comes from distance. It doesn't. Power comes from self-containment. You can be warm without being needy. You can be interested without being invested too early. You can be present without being dependent. This balance is what women associate with maturity, not age. Maturity. And when a woman feels that maturity, she stops testing consciously. But subconsciously, she starts imagining what it would feel like to be around you more, what it would feel like to relax with you, what it would feel like to trust you. That's the moment most men never notice, because it's quiet. But quiet is where real attraction lives. And if you stay grounded there, without trying to accelerate it, you naturally step into the role she was hoping you could fill, without forcing anything.
Here's the final truth that ties everything together. When a woman wants an older man, she isn't looking to be impressed. She's looking to feel anchored. Most men think attraction is something you create, something you do, something you perform. But what she's really responding to is what you don't do. You don't rush her emotions. You don't chase clarity. You don't bend yourself to keep momentum alive. You stay solid. This is where many men feel uncomfortable, because stillness feels risky. Doing nothing feels like losing control. But an older man understands something simple. Control doesn't come from movement, it comes from self-trust. When you trust yourself, you don't need to secure the outcome. You don't need her validation to feel steady. You don't need constant reassurance to stay calm. And that independence is felt immediately. This is why silence works, not as a tactic, but as a reflection of inner order. You're not silent to punish. You're silent because there's nothing to prove. You let moments breathe. You let emotions settle. You let her experience you instead of chasing a reaction. This is what flips the power. Not manipulation, not withdrawal. Self-respect. Self-respect shows up as boundaries you don't announce, standards you don't negotiate, and patience you don't explain. You don't argue for your worth. You live it. And when you live it, women feel it. They feel that you're not driven by fear of loss. They feel that you're not dependent on attention. They feel that you choose connection, not cling to it. That's when regret appears. Not regret that she tested you, but regret for underestimating you. Because when a woman realizes you don't chase her emotions, she starts questioning her own. She replays conversations. She reconsiders moments. Not because you disappeared, but because you stayed consistent. Consistency creates contrast. Most men change based on how she reacts. They become warmer when she pulls away, colder when she leans in. An older man doesn't swing like that. He stays the same. And that steadiness creates gravity. Now here's the part that matters most. This isn't about being emotionless. It's about emotional leadership. You feel, you care, you listen, but you don't lose your center. You don't let emotions decide your behavior. You let values decide. This is what women associate with safety, not perfection, not dominance, reliability of self. When you operate from this place, you stop worrying about tests, because tests only affect men who need to pass them. An older man doesn't try to pass. He observes. He listens to the question, but he also listens to himself. Does this connection feel aligned? Does this dynamic feel mutual? That's real power. And when you shift into that mindset, everything changes. You stop chasing attraction. Attraction finds you. You stop trying to be chosen. You become selective. You stop fearing loss. You trust your ability to walk away calmly. That calm, walk-away energy is what most men never develop, but it's what women feel instantly. Not because you threatened to leave, but because you could, and you wouldn't collapse if you did. That's maturity. That's why age doesn't matter. Energy does. An older man is not defined by years. He's defined by emotional stability. And once you embody that, these questions lose their power. Because you're no longer being tested, you're being experienced. So here's the question I'll leave you with. Have you been trying to answer her questions? Or have you been showing her who you are without words? Let me know in the comments. And if this helped you see attraction differently, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. Not to chase advice, but to keep sharpening the mindset that puts you back in your center.